everyone. My name is Nathan Cobb, and welcome to today's Creditsafe webinar. So today we're going to be talking about connecting Creditsafe data with SAP and how that all works. This is the second in a series that we are doing with our partner Serrala that will be all about knowing your customer and how this integration of data into SAP will actually help inform your decision-making process, your risk management, your credit decisioning, all these different things within your company. If you're not familiar with these companies that I've been speaking of, we're going to give you a little bit of background on each one of them right now. Serrala is a global B2B fintech software company. They optimize the universe of payments for organizations seeking efficient cash visibility and secure financial processes. As an SAP partner, Serrala supports over 2,500 companies worldwide with advanced technology, intelligent automation, and personalized consulting. Their comprehensive end-to-end portfolio automates inbound and outbound payment processes, as well as the management of related data and documents. As the world's most used provider of business intelligence, Creditsafe owns and maintains one of the most comprehensive and rapidly expanding business databases with credit information on over 365 million companies worldwide. They're changing the way business information is used by offering a collection of products and solutions that help companies leverage their domestic and international credit reports, company data, principal information, domestic and international judgments, and credit scores to make smarter business decisions. So as I said, we're doing this series with Serrala. Creditsafe is all about the what, why, and how of managing your KYC, know your customer process. In today's uncertain economic environment, it's more important than ever to have real-time access to the customer financials, organizational, and credit data. So we've got a couple of experts here to talk about this, one from Serrala and one from Creditsafe. I do not count in those experts in any way, shape, or form. So to introduce them and give you a little bit of background, if you've watched any of our other series with Serrala, you will know the first man here, Michael Kohler. He is the principal solution architect for Serrala. With over 10 years experience working in the order to cash field, Michael's present and previous roles have given him unique insight into the best practices in managing credit and compliance risks, as well as collection operations for businesses of various sizes and industries. Chris Long is the global head of customer success and is responsible for onboarding the majority of Creditsafe's largest customers, specifically those leveraging SAP solutions. He has also headed up CRM and ERP integrations for Creditsafe and has extensive experience in ensuring data integration with third-party software. So obviously these guys know what they're talking about. I don't. So I'm going to get out of the way and let these gentlemen lead the discussion today and do this. So guys, thanks so much for being here. It's always great to have guests that know so much and have great extensive backgrounds like you guys do.
Okay, thank you, Nathan, for the wonderful introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. I think I'm going to say this afternoon. Is it this afternoon or is it this morning? I'm not sure what time zone.
Depends on which time zone. If they're on the west coast of the U.S., it is still morning.
Okay,
but
well,
East Coast, we are in
Thursday.
the afternoon.
Happy Thursday. I'll just say that.
That works.
So yeah, thanks everyone for joining. It's an interesting topic for me in particular. I think when I started working with integrations and particularly SAP integrations, which was probably 10 years ago now, integrations were very much the future then. And you know, I remember going on customer meetings when we first did an integration with Serrala and getting some very strange looks for some SAP users who didn't really understand the concept of data integration. But now it's just kind of run of the mill. We've got hundreds of customers that are integrated into SAP that utilize Creditsafe data within that environment day in, day out. And as an organization, we actually provide significantly more data via API connection to CRM and ERP systems than we do through our website. So obviously it's an area that was very new when I started on this process and this journey of understanding that. But now it's quite mature. And I think for an organization that has a mature, when we speak to organizations that have mature credit control models, integration is kind of a given and kind of what we expect. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to run you through a couple of slides and explain how it works from a kind of Creditsafe perspective. I'll then hand over to the real expert, who's Michael, who will be able to show you how it works from a technical perspective and kind of give you an overview. So thought we'd start
Chris, As you get started here, just I'm gonna break in for one
Yeah.
second. I am gonna launch the first poll just so we can get an idea
Okay.
of the folks in the room and everything. So
Great
go ahead
idea.
and leave the presentation up. You guys can keep going, and I'll just have this open for about 3 minutes for the folks that can go ahead and
Okay.
answer these as you're getting started.
That's absolutely perfect. Okay, thank you. So yeah, the first thing that we thought we'd look at maybe is what are the opportunities? Why would you integrate Creditsafe data into your ERP system or your SAP ERP system? And you know, for me, the main opportunity is quick and consistent decisions. So if you put yourself in the position of a credit controller, when you receive a new credit application, the first thing you're going to do is look at your own data. So you're going to go into your own SAP system. You're going to think, is this an existing customer? Is it somebody that's been an existing customer in the past? And what was their payment performance like? You know, as a customer, did they perform in a way that means we can extend them more credit? Possibly the second thing you're going to do is then look at a third-party data source. You're going to go into Creditsafe and you're going to look at their credit rating. You're going to look at their credit limit. You're going to look at the size of a company. And then as a credit controller, you're going to use your kind of knowledge and experience to come to a credit decision. And what an integration does, it just puts all that information that you need to make that decision in one screen, in one clear place. So it means that the decisions are much more consistent. It's much quicker to make a decision. And then you have these wonderful residual benefits of obviously it's much more efficient. It's going to take you much less time to make these much more informed decisions. Your underlying data quality is going to be improved because there are real-time updates. So every credit controller or finance director has felt the pain of organizations moving addresses, organizations no longer trading, organizations whose credit ratings have fallen through the floor, and all of that is updated in real time through an integration. So it puts you in, you know, the level of control around your credit control policy is enhanced. Improved reporting. So obviously you can look at your internal data through the prism of Creditsafe data. So okay, these are my worst performing payers. Well, let's have a look how bad their credit ratings are, because if they've got bad credit ratings and they're bad payers, the likelihood is that those debts are going to go bad. And all of this then leaves joined up audit trails, right? So from a credit control perspective, it really does give you a holistic overview of each customer and your customer portfolio.
There you go. I think we'll do that. I'm going to end the poll here just as you're getting ready to transition here. Just so you gentlemen know, and everybody in the room kind of has a feel for what's going on. We do have most of the people, almost everyone has responded. Thank you, folks. About half the folks in the room are involved in credit and risk within their company. Not surprising there. But then we have quite a few folks from IT and in kind of an other category as well. So we've got a bit, and we've hit every category somewhere with at least one person kind of throughout. So quite a diverse audience today.
I think just before we get into the integration, it's probably worth pointing out to everyone just how quick and easy these integrations are. In the year 2021. It really is seamless. You can access data in 140 different countries. There's international coverage of these data sets. And there are other important benefits. We've standardized financial statements globally. So obviously financial statements differ from country to country. From a credit control or a financial perspective, it's very difficult to get your head around that. So we've managed to map all of those. And I always used to say when I first started working with integrations that the assumption would be that these things were really difficult and really expensive to do. That was always what I presumed my customers' expectations would be. And actually the opposite is true these days. There is absolutely minimal resource required on the customer side. We do as much of that work for you as we can. Obviously you need to do some user acceptance testing, but that's about it. And in terms of cost effectiveness, I mean, the return on investment is massive on these things. And we'll touch on that a little bit further in terms of why that happens and how that happens. But sorry, Mike, I'm always interrupted. Over to you. Please carry on.
Don't apologize. That was a really good point. And maybe that might be a good moment before we actually get into the how does this all happen. Maybe it would be a good moment to do the other poll question, Nathan, on what our audience has in terms of experience with integration.
I can absolutely launch that next one. All right, folks, we're going to have that going on here. And again, about 3 minutes for this, and then turn your attention to Michael.
Thanks, Nathan. Okay. I can see that as well, but I can't vote as usually. And there might be a good reason for that, I should say. So what we can see here on the screen is like what the actual credit report from Creditsafe looks like in SAP with our like Creditsafe connector. So that's a little preview, but the actual question that we want to start off with right now is like how, like, we talk about integration and it all sounded like very good. And I think we all have understood like the value of it, but like, what does this really look like in a tangible way? How do we have to how can we imagine this happening in our SAP system? So I have prepared a little movie. I wanted to say a little recorded screen demo that we are going to watch right now that I can talk you through. So it obviously starts off with that SAP initial screen. So just imagine you just log onto SAP. You are doing your usual work that you usually do in SAP, like consulting, the customer line item list, the credit management and all that. With that said, like that Creditsafe connector that we're talking about, as you can see here, maybe from that little highlighted menu item, it is a separate T code in your SAP environment. So this is really how the level of depth that we have with that integration. It's so far integrated in your SAP system that it's just another T code in your SAP system that you go to launch that Creditsafe Connect. And this is what it looks like. So there's a menu, obviously, with lots of functions. And when wanting to pull a Creditsafe report, there are basically two options. You can do that either for an existing customer or for a prospect that is not that doesn't have an account number yet in your SAP system. And the first thing that we see here, like when I click on Inquire Partner, that is the option of getting a credit report for an existing customer or business partner. So just on a side note here, the demo system that we have been using here for this screen demo, we were running a system in which we had the business partner as the leading master data object, but it also works with if you just work with customers and vendors. And that's another important thing to note here. We're talking obviously about credit risk and all that right now, but the same thing, the same connector also works for vendors in SAP. So if you have a vendor screening in place, a vendor risk management screening, then you could perfectly use that Creditsafe connector in SAP also to pull credit reports on your vendors as well, according to what your policy is. So with that said, like what I just did here, punch in the business partner or the customer number, and what then happens is that search template here that we see in the middle of the screen that you would usually also see on the Creditsafe website if you wanted to pull a report on the company, gets auto-populated with the account data that you have in your SAP system. So you don't have to manually type in the company name, street, and house number and all that. It just happens automatically for you after punching in the customer or the business partner number. And that is obviously a huge advantage. Now let's see how we can pull a report on a prospect. So obviously with a prospect, we don't have that relationship or that relation to an existing account. So we will have to do some typing in here on that search template. And this could be you could give as many or as little information as you want. One thing that I do want to point out here is as well as you have certain search types available here as well. You could search by either the closest keywords or the exact company name that you type in. So that also gives you a little more options of how to refine your search. And then once I hit the search button here, what the system does, it communicates with the Creditsafe database, obviously in a very secure way with HTTPS protocols and security certificates in place. And the Creditsafe database basically delivers us their search results back into SAP here, from where I can just pick the right company and pull the report. There's going to be a little pop-up here where I just have to confirm which language I want the report in. I can put in a note as well for internal reporting, why I pulled this report. There's a cost allocation as well for internal reporting. And with this click of a button, in a matter of seconds, I will get a complete credit report from Creditsafe delivered into my SAP system, as you can see here. So it happens within a matter of seconds here. I got that report into the system, and that is really as easy. Really, it is really as easy as it looks like. You just type in the company name, or you pull the data from the master data by typing in a customer number, and then you just pull the report. It's really as simple as that. And as you can see here, other than the tab pages that we have here, where you have the data available in a more structured format, you also have the PDF report in your SAP system. So that is a pretty amazing thing in terms of integration, because it means that your credit managers can basically do all the work from like one single system. And then one other thing I wanted to show here, but I need to process this, which is another really, really good and time-saving functionality. But there's a huge caveat here, obviously only for smaller or more medium-sized companies that don't have extensive master data workflows. I just wanted to throw that out there, that what we're showing right now is just an optional function of creating an SAP master record, either a customer account or a business partner in your SAP system based on the data you pulled from Creditsafe. And this is also, fairly simple. I just clicked on the master data button. Here I can still have the liberty to decide what kind of data do I want to create the master record with. And then it will ask me a couple of options for the creation of the business partner record in this case that I need to fill in. But it works the same way for a customer account, where you can create a customer account in SAP also, just very simply using the Creditsafe data. And as you can see here, just in a matter of seconds as well, I will have my business partner created based on the Creditsafe data that I just pulled in. So if I go to the business partner transaction here, I just punched in the transaction code that leads me to the transaction of the business partner record in SAP. And as you can see here, this is the one that I just created. And in the credit profile, I will already have all of my credit, not all, but the most important Creditsafe data in there as well, meaning the score here. But you can also, if you wanted to, import the credit recommendation and the rating as well. So that's really very simple. But as I said, it is an optional feature that many organizations also ask us to not activate because they have their own master data workflows. Or you can have this button with a specific authorization in the background that only authorized users are able to use it to create master data. So there's a lot of flexibility that you have there, but I just wanted to show that it is possible and that it is really fairly simple and can save you a lot of work. Now, going back to what you actually get. So now that we've seen that how easy it is actually to pull in a credit report into your SAP system, just from the Creditsafe database, flows nicely, smoothly, seamlessly into your SAP system. This is what it looks like. As I said, there's several tab pages available so you have the information more in a structured or chaptered way in your SAP system. You have the link to your master data object in SAP in this case. So this screenshot was pulled from another demo system where I don't have the business partner, just the customer. So I can see the customer name and account number and like the most important like address data from the master data. At a glance, I see all the rating data I get from Creditsafe with a credit score. And what I especially like here is I get a trend indicator as well, where the credit score is right now compared to a year ago. And we can see it actually, fell from 69 to 66 here. And then we get some comments as well, just really everything at a glance for the credit manager to see what's going on there. And also very important, because during the life cycle of the customer, you might get monitoring updates or you might pull new reports on an occasional basis. You have all that history available here. So all the credit reports you ever pulled for this customer are available here in your history, which is also pretty amazing because you could just by one click go back into previous reports and see what was going on there. And then I just wanted to point out there's a couple of options here as well in terms of managing that information in your system. Like if you wanted to activate or terminate a monitoring, for whoever is not familiar with the concept of monitoring is an update service that Creditsafe is offering their customers, whereby whenever there is an update on the customers that you pulled a credit report on, Creditsafe will deliver those updates to you. So be it they have rescored or redone the rating on the customer and it has changed, so you will get an update about that, or they just saw that the registered address changed in the database, there's been changes in the directors and shareholders, there's new financial information, whatever it may be, Creditsafe can deliver those updates to you if you subscribe to them. And as you can see here, it's very easy to manage your subscription to that update or monitoring service here. However, with that said, this is like pretty impressive by itself, but that is actually just the nice to have of the connector. The real value of having the integration through such a connector comes in when we take a look at the next things here. So the integration with other SAP Standard Transactions. So as I showed before, there is a integration into either the master record, the FD32, or the business partner, where you can have external data stored in your system here and automatically updated through Creditsafe. Or you can also have it integrated in, if you're using Serrala's FS2 Credit, comprehensive credit management functionality in SAP, you can also have the Creditsafe information automatically integrated into your due diligence process that you do within the Serrala credit management tool. So this is where the real value actually comes in, where you can really see how you can integrate those third-party data from Creditsafe in your end-to-end credit management process. And again, going back to the master data, as we can see in that Creditsafe report in SAP in our connector, we have the address data on the left-hand side that Creditsafe gives us. So this is the customer, the Brown Printing Company, as it is stored in the Creditsafe database at 2300 Brown Avenue in Waseca, apparently in Minnesota. And this is on the right-hand side, compared to that, is what you have in your own SAP system in the customer master record. Now, you can see that there's a little difference in the house, street and house number. So where Creditsafe says the company is located at 2300 Brown Avenue, in our SAP system, it says they are on 5500 Green Street. Now, what you can now do within this Creditsafe Connect tool, if you have a more sophisticated or complex master data workflow that you have to go through before changing or creating an account in SAP, instead of just using the button, which in this case will be disabled in your case, you can actually kick off a master data cleanup or master data creation workflow, creating a task item and send it off to the person or to the master data team with that information that they need to change. Very, very simply and very easy to track as well. So everything really is in one place and very easily trackable and traceable. And then another, value add where, and probably in the order of importance, that might be one of the most important things where integration can really bring value into your portfolio management is that ongoing risk monitoring. So obviously for your either key accounts or most regular accounts or most risky accounts, you will hopefully have that monitoring or update service activated, which means that Creditsafe on a regular basis will send you updates on those accounts. Now, these flow into your system automatically without you having to click any buttons or pull anything. And then you might wonder, yeah, this is all nice. It all happens in the background, but how can I make sure I get those alerts and get that visibility so that it becomes actually actionable? There's two options here. Either you have a report within the Creditsafe connector that shows you the monitoring messages that came in. You can filter that by date, obviously. Or even better, if you're choosing to use Serrala if it's to credit management functionality, those alerts, Creditsafe alerts, will be integrated into your overall credit alert list. That will also be able to give you other alerts. For example, if the customer is passed through a certain threshold, if the financials need renewing, if collateral needs renewing, all that. But also if you have some kind of update that came in from Creditsafe, that is actionable. So, the credit manager, he pulls that alert list and sees okay, those are the monitoring updates I got, and those are the action items that, come from that.
So Michael, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to just quick jump in here with a couple of questions. But we did have another question here that's asking, this screen and information access, can it be limited by user authorizations?
Absolutely, yeah. So behind each screen that you see here, there are certain authorization objects in SAP. Sorry for the very technical term, but that's just how SAP calls it. This is how access management works in SAP. You get a certain profile. The profile has certain objects in it. So behind each screen that you can see here, you can perfectly control who gets access to that screen, and also screens, for example, if I go back a little, those where you can actually trigger action items or change stuff. You can also decide who gets read-only access to it and who gets basically write access to it. So even down to that level, you have that possibility to control access. So, and access management is very important, and so is reporting. So I just wanted to highlight three kinds of reports you can get with that Creditsafe connector in SAP to get and maintain visibility over your portfolio. Obviously, you've got a portfolio overview where you can, by various filter criteria, you can basically pull a list of all the Creditsafe reports in your system with the data behind it. So you can, with that list, for example, pull all the companies that you have a monitoring service active for, all the companies that you have deactivated it for, companies or your customers from a certain country, within a certain score range. There's literally a limitless amount of reporting opportunities and possibilities here. And then also very important, you can pull also a report on all the basically Creditsafe reports that you pulled but have not assigned to a customer account. So that also helps you to basically keep your customer base clean and make sure that whenever you pull a report on a prospect, that later on it does get assigned to a specific customer number SAP just for those follow-on processes in terms of credit monitoring and assessment. And on the flip side also, or like, the kind of the inverse thing to the reports without assignment to a customer, you can also pull a list of all your customers that you don't have a Creditsafe report for. So if you have in your credit policy certain criteria by which you really need external credit data for certain customer accounts, you can monitor the compliance with that policy through that kind of report. And again, I mean, it's very obvious and self-explanatory that this would not be possible or to do with such ease if there wasn't that integration that Serrala built between Creditsafe and SAP here. Really, that integration, I mean, now that we've seen it in practice, really enables you to work a lot more efficiently and to monitor also compliance with your own credit policy.
And of course, there would never be a possible that there's actually a company out there that we wouldn't have reports on. It's just that you haven't pulled it yet. That's what you're saying, right? It's just
exactly.
No, we know there are some out there. There are a few, but there are some that we don't necessarily have an instantaneous report on, folks. And through this is you can get that type of stuff.
I think this part of the reporting is really important, then, Michael. I think that for a senior finance operative, these type of reports are invaluable, right? I mean, you know, it's just incredible, especially the reports overview where you can see a list of your customers with the credit profile next to them. Just, you know, we spend hours and hours and hours producing these reports for customers each and every day. So to be able to do that at the click of a button is fantastic. It's a great solution.
Yeah, and going back to you, Nathan. So actually, what this third report shows is customers that you really did not pull a report on. Not that Creditsafe wouldn't give you a report on them. It's just, you know, sometimes it's at the purview of the credit manager to decide. And also, I guess, what kind of, you know, agreement you have with Creditsafe, if you have limited or unlimited amount of reports and whatnot, you know. But this really helps you to monitor that all the customers you need a credit report on as per your credit policy will get one. And that scenario, what you mentioned, it is possible that, for example, for like some very new companies, Creditsafe might not have an instantaneous report on. But this is also the beauty of this connector tool. You know, if it should happen that Creditsafe needs to do an investigation to give you a report and is not able to deliver a report within seconds, you will still, you can like start that investigation or research from within the Creditsafe Connect tool and also keep track of that and see like, okay, so these are like a couple of companies that Creditsafe is still investigating, and to keep track of that, and then, you know, get the report automatically once Creditsafe has all the data together. So that would not happen if you were to go through like another tool or your website, right? You would constantly have to check the website. Oh, is the report available now or not? With the Creditsafe Connect tool, you get a proactive notification. Hey, the report is there. Now you can access all the data.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that actually answers one of our questions too. So we had a question about what if something doesn't come up on a report. So great job on anticipating that. I do want to give you guys the results of the poll. So the poll was, you know, do you currently integrate third-party data into your SAP platform? And about 40% of people said yes, they do, but 60% actually said no, or they are unsure whether or not they do. So more folks are saying no, not really, or I don't even know, versus the folks that actually do. And Michael, your lovely desire of I'm curious of or thinking about it did not get any respondents. So I apologize, my friend.
Perfect.
You did not get anybody that's super curious in that one. So there's a couple of other questions here, but I think they can wait. So I want to let you kind of just jump back in and finish this up and talk about some user cases here.
Yeah, I thought it would be good to go through some real world examples of organizations that have obviously benefited from this wonderful work that Michael's just been talking about. So the first use case I wanted to just touch upon was a really strategic Creditsafe customer that we picked up last year. It's a large multinational IT service provider with a huge turnover. It's a multinational, well-known, And I'm sure everybody on the call would be aware of the name if I named it. The customer requirement was they wanted to use our Creditsafe data within their SAP ERP system. They were using ECC6, I think. So they wanted to create as many efficiency savings as possible. They wanted to use the Creditsafe ratings within the SAP system to reduce bad debt. But most importantly, they wanted to integrate a third-party data bureau to help improve their master data management. They knew that the data quality they had within their system was poor, poorly formatted addresses, records not updated for long periods of time. The onus was on their kind of their staff members to update records as and when they went along, and that had fallen behind. So that was quite a big challenge. We needed to work with three competing areas of the business. So we were working with the finance team, working with the sales team, and working with the data management team. And the numbers on that solution were huge. So we've got 450 users that use the Creditsafe connector. They utilize data in all 140 countries. So far, we've matched 300,000 business records for them. So we've exported 300,000 records from SAP. We've used our kind of proprietary matching technology to match those against our Creditsafe reference database. And we've re-uploaded all of those unique identifiers. So in a one-off job, we matched the client's database to our Creditsafe database. So far, they've used 208,000 business reports in just over a year. They're monitoring 110,000 customer records in multiple countries. So yeah, it's a really big solution. So it just gives you an idea of the possibilities of scale, really, of the solution at what I would call the highest end, really, of the most in-depth users. And then to move on to kind of the second user case, if we can. Obviously, it's great that we work with all these big multinational clients and we work on these great projects. But obviously, the solution is designed as much for smaller users as for bigger users. So this is a use case. This is a US organization, a national provider of fertilizer and equipment. Customer used SAP, didn't even know that they could do an integration until our sales team explained, what they can do, and went through the same demonstration that Michael has just been through. And we explained how they could use that to make better informed, quicker credit decisions. The biggest challenge, it was the challenge, a completely opposite challenge to the previous client. This client had very limited internal resource to work on the project. So obviously internal resource was at a premium. There were other things they wanted that resource to be able to do. They had a fairly restricted budget in terms of what they could invest in improving their process. And their main concern was the project would overrun and it would become a really expensive, really long-winded escapade. But obviously, the solution was that we worked with Serrala. The resource required from the customer was to import some transportations, which is the way that you update your SAP solution from a technical perspective. Obviously, we needed the customer to do some UAT testing to make sure it worked, and the whole project was completed start to finish in 8 weeks. And the client's already displaying efficiency savings of 15 to 20%. Bad debt is down. So overall, a really effective, really successful project. And one of the reasons I think that we can run these type of projects is the level of support and the degree of sophistication that Serrala provide. I mean, obviously they are a huge corporate player in the SAP world. I mean, obviously when you talk about an ERP system, security and scalability are really important. And these guys really know what they're doing. So we're really lucky to kind of have them as a partner. In terms of how we get it done, typically we have a kickoff meeting. So we'll get the client, Serrala, ourselves, the account manager, anybody who wants to join around the table. And we'll run through the actions that need to be taken and who needs to run them. So I did suggest to Michael that we could put a project plan up on this call, but I was shouted down by everyone, probably quite rightly, because it gets a bit dry. But I love project plans. But really, we show kind of we list out individually the tasks that everyone needs to take, and barely any of those, maybe 5 or 6% of those, are apportioned to the client. Most of them are either Creditsafe or Serrala. We then run through the implementation. So we get some information back from the client. We send it off to Serrala. We send it off to their technical team in Germany, who then go away and go quiet for a week or two when they build out the solution. And then they send it across via SAP in something called the transport, which is about as technical as I get when it comes to SAP. But essentially, the client imports that and it updates their SAP service. As I alluded to, we then need the client to test it to make sure everything works as we expect it to, which in general is pretty seamless. And then we agree a date when the client goes live. So we push it through all the SAP environments, the test environment, right through the live environment. We agree a go live date but we still provide a degree of hypercare for a month after the customer goes live. So we still want to make sure we give all the customer the correct support. One of the key things we do is provide user training. So typically what we'll do is identify a key user or a group of key users within an organization, maybe one, it could be 10, it could be 50. And both ourselves and Serrala will sit down and train those key users in how to get the most out of the connector. So that they become kind of fountains of knowledge individually in the individual business or individual customers, I suppose. So that's typically how the integration is done. Typically, as 8 to 12 weeks is normal. For really big implementations, such as the one we've just looked at, if we're matching 300,000 records and there's a lot of data going back and forth, it could be a little bit longer. But in general, the process is pretty seamless. One of the best things for me at Serrala is we've had the same technical support for the last 5 or 6 years. So the guys really understand Creditsafe, they understand the Creditsafe data set, they understand the Creditsafe customers. And for me, that's a huge advantage to both us and our customers who are kind of planning to leverage the system.
Absolutely, and that actually answers one of our questions here of time frames. So I appreciate you answering that. Somebody asked what the typical time frame would be for an integration build. So there you go.
Yeah, and I mean, just to the last couple of points. I mean, it certainly speeds up and streamlines your credit decisioning process. I think we talk a lot about speed, but we really need to talk a little bit more about quality. It's the quality of the decisions that you're making from a credit control perspective that are improved, because all of the data is in one place. That in turn will obviously have a positive impact on your levels of bad debt and the decisions you're making day to day. The single source of truth is really important. You've got your own data, you've got the Creditsafe data, it all lives and breathes in one place with those real-time updates because of the proactive risk monitoring. So yeah, it lends itself to a really mature level of credit control performance. And actually in the 10 years that we've been running the integrations, I think we've lost one customer that went that unfortunately ceased trading. But apart from that, once you integrate, it's very difficult to go back because you get used to that level of kind of sophistication, I suppose. And it's really simple and easy to use for the users, which is important too.
Okay, well, you guys have done a good job with this in answering a lot of these questions that we've had come through. So we don't have a ton of them. We do have a couple of minutes, folks. If you do have other questions, anything more specific, these guys were talking ahead of time about this, about all different screens that they were using and the different functions and all this. And my eyes glazed over, but it's because I don't know how to use SAP. So these guys were
how can you not love SAP, Nathan? How can you not love
SAP? They brought me on to do webinars and things like that. I'm not the SAP expert, or we wouldn't need you here, Chris. So, but we do have one other question here. It is kind of a general question that came in a little bit earlier, but I figured I would hold it till the end rather. Is there any type of specific industry or company style / size / type that this integration works better for than another?
No, I don't.
Shaking of the heads, but I don't hear
no,
anything.
I don't think so. I mean, obviously, if you're running an SAP and you're a cash business that didn't invoice other customers, then potentially, credit checking probably isn't for you. But I think there are very few SAP customers. The type of system, the type of ERP system that SAP is, you'll tend to be a reasonably large organization to leverage it in the first place. So no, it's suitable for any type of organization. We've got very different types of customers using the system, from the IT company that we've looked at through to big manufacturers, through to multinational recruiters. There's a great story. There's a recruiter in the UK that leveraged the connector, and the only reason they bought it was because of the button that Michael showed, where you can create an account. So it was taking them 5 to 6 minutes to create accounts, and they were creating 600 or 700 accounts a week. You times that by 5 or 6 minutes, it takes a very long time and took a lot of resource. So by utilizing the service, found the company, clicked the button, set up the new account, and it was much more efficient.
Yeah, and I agree. So there's no specific, even like from my experience working with Creditsafe, because before doing my solution architect work, I used to work as a consultant for Serrala, implementing our credit and collection solution, including Creditsafe Connect. So there was really not like one specific company or industry that you could single out that this would be specific for.
So does it integrate with all SAP versions, SAP ERP version 6.0 plus? And the answer I know, Michael, is yes, right? I mean, yes,
Yeah.
it's ECC 6 plus and above. It's also SAP
Yes, and that's a
HANA
really
now.
good question. Yeah, exactly. I was going to actually allude to that as well, because that is typically the question we get with all our other products as well. Like, oh, what about S4HANA? Because SAP is obviously pushing everyone to be using S4HANA now. So Creditsafe, the Creditsafe connector works with every version of SAP, starting from ECC 6.0 all the way to the latest version of SAP S4HANA. And we actually, in our own demo environment, we have it on different, like we have, or in our system environment, I should say, we have in a dev system, our QA system, and then we have 2 demo systems, and one of them is S4HANA. So we have it in all different kind of ERP, like ECC and S4 environments, and it works perfectly in all those environments.
And just as an aside, the big project we did for the global IT company, we did an initial implementation into ECC 6, and then 3 months later they did their S4HANA migration. So we just migrated everything we'd done into S4HANA, and that was pretty seamless as well. So even if you're in one version, you're planning to do a migration, we can still migrate from one version to the other, which is important.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point too.
Okay. Right. I don't think we've got any other questions, Michael.
Nope.
Nope. Have you got any closing thoughts or anything that you would like to kind of use as a closing gambit? Something to leave.
Yeah, no, I would like to thank everyone for their attendance and their interest in this webinar. If there's any question whatsoever, you will be getting a follow-up after this webinar. So you can reach out to either myself or to you, Chris, for with any question or doubts that you guys have. We're here for you, and we're happy to schedule follow-ups with you as needed.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, I mean that's a really great point. I think that we at Creditsafe have learned over the years that we understand an SAP integration is quite a big step for some organizations, right? I mean, it's your ERP system, it's the thing you rely on day in, day out. So if you've got any interest, I would just urge you to get in touch. We'll just have a conversation so we can run through what the benefits are. You can look at how that would work in kind of real life, I guess. And we can go from there. I think that's really good. But from our perspective, I don't have anything else to run through, Michael, if you don't.
Nope.
No.
All good.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for your time this afternoon. It's been really good. Thank you, Michael, very much for coming and joining us and running through that. I've not seen your previous webinars, but it was really impressive and it really made sense, and you kept it really simple. So thank you very much as ever. And I'm sure these guys will see you again shortly in another Creditsafe webinar at some point.
Okay, thanks as well.
Perfect. Right. Thank you, everybody.
I will say goodbye to everyone. Just know this is part of a webinar series that is ongoing every Thursday in the month of February. So next Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, the 18th of February, there will be a webinar on compliance and risk management, which is one of the most diverse and actually one of the most relevant topics that we're going to be talking about. So make sure to mark your calendars for that. You can always sign up for that and see all of our webinars at creditsafe.com/webinars. Thank you so much for joining us. And gentlemen, thank you for putting up with me. And I will see everyone next time. Have a great one, everybody.
Thank you, Nathan.